50 years. But preparing for the fall of America doesn't have to be painful, and I'm going to show you how. The euro is again gaining on the dollar, and it's about to break through this resistance line.
Time when there are many political pundits who are declaring with certainty that America's best days are in the past. If you type into Google, the search engine, you type in the words, the decline of the USA, and you will immediately receive 8 million articles, books, posts, video lectures on this subject. Various works with titles like The Decline of the USA from the Huffington Post, The Future, China's Rise, America's Decline, Forbes magazine, The Decline of the West, the Atlantic Monthly. Add to this general pessimistic viewpoint a confrontational relationship between the White House and the news and entertainment media, as well as internal strife dividing both parties, and it's easy to see why the average American, regardless of political affiliation, is feeling insecure about the future at this time. We cannot deny that America is in a downturn in many ways of our nation. Much of the discussion on this subject is based on the writings of Sir John Bagot Glubb, an honored British general and historian whose 1978 book, The Fate of Empires and the Search for Survival, in his book he traced the common features possessed by all great empires throughout history up to and including modern times. He described a common pattern fitting the history of fallen empires. In other words, empires that declined and fell all had a similar pattern throughout history. He wrote that they went through a cycle of changes as they started and expanded and matured and then declined and eventually collapsed. Each empire, he wrote, lasted on average 250 years.
To the video. The Roman Empire oversaw the lives of millions of people. Remnants of its great reign still stand in cities across the world, a testament to their reach and influence in the lands they conquered.
Never has Rome been greater or stronger than now.
But then, after 1,000 years of domination, it fell. And just like Rome wasn't built in a day, it didn't fall in one either. Instead, the fall of the Roman Empire was death by 1,000 cut. But there's one factor in particular we're going to look at: internal decay.
At the height of its grandeur and its glory, a civilization so powerful it could never be conquered from without. Yet it found the seeds of its destruction within itself.
There was a huge disparity between the lives of the elite and the commoners. Rome's elites lived in grand estates, hosting lavish, decadent banquets where they'd feast on peacock tongue and wine from naked waiters.
Every one of these senatorial families has holdings all over the Roman Empire. They're the equivalent of small multinational corporations. They are wealthy in a way that is impossible for us to understand.
The poor lived a very different reality. They worked menial jobs and lived mostly on bread and porridge, living in overcrowded, badly built buildings, prone to collapse and spreading disease.
The games are all about Roman emperors giving the people what they need, and it's always described as bread and circuses. They had to feed the people of Rome, but once they were fed, they had to be entertained.
Let the games begin!
There were famines, peasant uprisings, and slavery, and the Roman tax system disproportionately impacted the lower classes, while the wealthy often avoided taxes through exemption or corruption.
This is now a new era of Roman history. Rome is no longer what it was. Rome is in decline.
The middle class was shrinking, and the economy became increasingly polarized between the very rich and the very poor, all fueling resentment and instability. So what does this tell us about the U.S.?
Home they've always dreamed of, the happiest investment they have ever made.
The middle class was once a symbol of the American dream. It meant owning your own home with a white picket fence, a car, kids going to school, a perceived ease and quality of life that couldn't be found anywhere else in the world, and that anyone could achieve so long as they worked hard enough.
We are a prospering people. Wherever we live, or earn our livelihood.
But for the past few decades, that's all become increasingly out of reach for lots of Americans.
Some people skipping meals because they simply can't afford it.
The number of people experiencing homelessness in a single night went up 12%.
Every year, hundreds of thousands of people are literally asking for donations to afford medical treatment.
Our roads and bridges are crumbling, our airports are out of date, and the vast majority of our seaports are in danger of becoming obsolete.
But Americans from the grocery store to the gas station are seeing their budgets tighten every single month.
And the changes suggested would mean higher taxes for the average American family, widening America's already massive income gap.
90% of the wealth is right here in the top. And then the lower middle class, they've got 0.3% of a piece. Yeah, they have some crumbs there. And the poorest, they have no pie. In fact, they have less than no pie. They actually have a bill for pie. They're in pie debt.
They're struggling to meet rent or mortgage payments, repay college loans, to repay loans for a car.
While the wealthy have become steadily wealthier, wages have been stagnant and costs of living have surged. And it's not like these changes are mutually exclusive. It's off the backs of workers, off the exploitation of the American masses, that the wealthy continue to engorge themselves.
Elon Musk has officially become the richest person in the world. His net worth has crossed the $400 billion US mark.
Companies buying out the housing market, insurance companies making healthcare unaffordable, politicians taking money from lobbies to protect corporate interests and fill their own pockets, and the working class is well aware.
Hoarding wealth is so harmful, so unethical, so rage-inducing.
Billionaires should not exist.
So you talk about teacher's salary, $2,000 in rent, $400 car payment, you got insurance, you got groceries, electricity. Like, I don't understand how people are affording life right now.
For 5 stitches, $3,800.
What?
Like, it's so freaking hard to live here.
North America is one big scam.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States. The golden age of America begins right now. We are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life.
From sea to shining sea.
And I was going to talk about the J6 hostages, but you'll be happy because, you know, it's action, not words that count. And you're going to see a lot of action.
Sacrifice of Corey Comparatori. Mr. Comparatori, a 10-year U.S. Army Reserve veteran and past fire chief to the Buffalo Township Volunteer Fire Company, who died during the assassination attempt on the life of President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, July 13th, 2024.
Thank you, sir.
Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so. I don't think so. So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Full pardon or commutation?
Full pardon. We have about 6 commutations in there where we're doing further research. One thing we're going to be demanding is we're going to be demanding respect from other nations. Canada, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. We're not going to have that anymore. We can't do it. I don't know if it's good for them. As you probably know, I say you can always become a state. And if you're a state, we won't have a deficit. We won't have to tariff you, et cetera, et cetera. But Canada has been very tough to deal with over the years. And it's not fair that we should have a $200 billion or $250 billion deficit. We don't need them to make our cars, and they make a lot of them. We don't need their lumber because we have our own forests, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need their oil and gas. We have more than anybody. So, just as an example, with Mexico, we're dealing with Mexico, I think, very well. And we just want to be treated fairly with other nations because there's hardly a nation in the world, and I blame this on us, and I blame it on politicians that, for some reason, mostly it's stupidity, but you could also say other reasons, but mostly stupidity. They've allowed other nations to take advantage of the U.S., and we can't allow that to happen anymore. We have debt. It's a very small debt when you compare it to value.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 2, and it reads, "And he cried mightily with a loud," from the top, "and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is become the habitations of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird." Verse 3, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornications with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Verse 4, this is the point. "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues." Koholo Yahweh, Ba'Shem Mashiach Yahushai, Ruha Ruka Kodash. Double honors to the mighty men, the elders, and the apostles in the community, waking up the lost sheep of the house of Israel in these last days. Peace and blessings to everyone doing his truth and humbleness and sincerity. Again, I want to say shalom. And if you guys look at the post, okay, the opening to this exhortation, okay, it's going into the decline of this empire. And if you caught Salakia, that inauguration, they even mentioned America is hitting 250 very soon, roughly late this year into the following year, which means we don't have a lot of time here. Another portion of that opening goes into how Rome partially fell. Okay, I'll go into that a little in Revelations, the 20th chapter. Rome didn't completely fall because the United States of America is the extension of the Roman Empire, except it's a conglomerate of all nations as one, right? You check out the news. You got blizzards in New Orleans. Okay, winter weather's ravishing the Gulf Coast, and that's the Most High really judging them So now they're supposed to be making preparations for that witchcraft called Mardi Gras. And the Lord shut down that whole region. Okay, and the Most High He's visiting this earth. You know, for you newcomers, you study Exodus. When He visited ancient Egypt, it was a wrap. By the 10th plague, it was done for the Egyptians. Okay? And something far more sinister is coming to the United States of America. It's going to be thermonuclear destruction. Right? So America, even after the president's inauguration, it's not going to save this place from the judgment. Okay, America's, you look at it biblically, this place is guilty of a lot of crimes against the creator of heaven and earth, chiefly the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Until this day, they hide what's going on. That's why you have mass chariot sightings, not here just on the East Coast. Them chariots are worldwide. Okay. I have a little shot of it, but to me, the angle's too far. But I've seen the one that they're calling a drone here in Jersey and New York, here on the East Coast. Well, that's not a drone. And up close, that chariot is very massive. Then it cloaks away. That's the kicker. So that's not Project Bluebeam. Okay, that's not some military vehicle. Those are chariots, and they're going to take these guys in even greater number as that day get closer and closer. Right? Let me see if there's anything else before we're gonna slack you. Go into this video, exhortation, and we're gonna wind it down. But America is declining. That's why I opened up Revelation the 18th chapter. Don't get caught up in this place. I'm not telling, especially you newcomers. No one's telling you to walk in fear and not live your life. We're not telling you to do that. But I'm going to tell you, as a Israelite in this truth, enter into the 12th year, my 12th year, all praises. I'm going to tell you, you better put the commandments first. Okay, put the commandments first. Share this truth chiefly with fellow Israelites. Okay. The other nations, they should know it as well, but this is really for the elect, because America's coming down. And I'm going to always emphasize, the coming prophecy of Revelation, the 17th chapter. When these nations truly turn their back on America, that's when E-Day kicks in. Okay? Exodus Day, D-Day, 2nd Ezra 7:43, I believe. That's when those things pop off. Jacob's trouble, that's only going to escalate. I prefer the tail end of it, when the walls of fire is coming, and that Revelations, I believe that's 11-7, manifests. Okay? So we're captives in a foreign land, controlled by foreigners, Slovakia, your racism, white supremacists, and the other nations involved alike. All the wicked's going to be judged, and the elect's going to be delivered. That's how it's going to end. So let's get a few scriptures, and I'm going to wind it down. It won't be long. All right? Let's get... one moment. You know what? Let's get Isaiah 13 and 19. Because America takes on this spirit. And like I said, it's too late for this place to get it together. all the warning signs is this place is going to get judged. Right? Let's get Isaiah 13 and 19. This is the classic. Isaiah 13 and 19, it reads, "In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah." And we know Babylon the Great, aka United States of America, takes on that spirit. Okay? And none of those philosophies or ideologies is going to prevent the day of the Lord's judgment. The judgment day is the fire. Right? Let's get the classic. Here it is. Revelations 17 and 16. I'm going to always resurface this one because we're entering into that time anyways. Okay. Revelation 17:16 reads, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore." Okay. "And shall make her desolate, naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." In other words, something's going to happen. Something's going to trigger the nations to really turn on America. We can start with this, I don't even call it a ceasefire. It's impossible to be a ceasefire while they're still shooting at the same time. That don't even make sense. You have that condition in the Middle East. And this China-Taiwan saga, I hadn't been going in on it lately, but it's gotten out. Biden on his exit from the White House, he gave Taiwan ATACMS, like long-range missiles, to attack China. Now that's a big thing in social media, right? Nothing has happened yet, but I advise many to pay close attention to that news. And you can follow that on, it's in YouTube. It's called Gravitas, the WION. It's like, those are news networks based in India for the most part. And the lady from First Post, she's covering that as well. I advise y'all to keep a very sharp eye on that. And I remember that the president-elect said he would end the Ukraine war in one day. That was a big bluff. And I've seen some videos surface where he's trying to push Putin into his agreement. And we know Putin's not listening to the West. The West have to listen to him or else. And we know the nations are quietly joining Russia anyways. All the nations are really leaning toward the BRICS nations because the elite powers that be, they enslaved the masses here throughout these 50 states through your tax system, okay? They work and enslave the masses, and that's why you have that small class of people that want to run the world as they see fit. But it's causing all types of poverty and anguish on the little people, chiefly the poor people. Okay, there's no middle class. It's only the rich and the poor. And the poor people just getting frustrated in these states to the point of violence, just like Genesis 6. It's going to get out of control. It's getting out of control. Okay, and the Lord's judging this place on all fronts. Cali's still burning. Another state of emergency been declared in Los Angeles, in that area, more so north, because they can't stop the wildfires. And that's the Most High judging this place, right? There was reports of small tremors on the East Coast just yesterday. Now, I didn't feel anything this time as of yet. But we know last year, New York, New Jersey got rocked by some earthquakes. So the judgment's here. And anyone believing this place is going to go beyond, 250 years plus, you're out of your mind. Okay, had an elder post a video of this wicked Eve talking about we're not the generation. The last generation to get an awakening was probably 4,000 years ago during the Egyptian captivity, where all Israel repented and they got out of there. The awakening happening right now is the remnant elect of Israel, so we can be delivered out of this place. Because Judgment Day is emphatically coming. Right? See if there's any more. I'm on this video. We're going to go back to Revelations 18. I'm gonna start at 17 and go up to 19. It says, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea stood afar off. Verse 18, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, at last that great city where made rich all that has ships in sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Again, the Most High is going to destroy this place with fire, thermonuclear destruction. That's going to be the judgment on this land. And the build-up for that is underway. So we have to keep the commandments. Those of us that's been in this truth 12 years and beyond, there's no excuse. If you fall out the truth, forget it. You're already walking charcoal. But if you're new to this truth, you have to hold on tight. Okay, Jacob's trouble, martial law, draconian laws, all types of decrees will be passed. Lockdowns, different decrees. Okay, those birth pains is going to overload until that special day happens, right? We're going to end it here. Revelation chapter 18 and 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in 1 day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Most High God who judged her. I'm going to read that again. Okay. Revelation chapter 18 and 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in 1 day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judged her. And with that, we'll give all praise, honor, and glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh, Bashima Mashiach, Yahushai. Double honors to the mighty men, the elders, and the apostles in the community, teaching this truth in humbleness and sincerity. Peace and blessings to everyone doing this truth in humbleness and in sincerity. Israel, I love y'all. We got next. Shalom, family.